Hey guys, welcome back to DeepShift Labs. My name is Krishna, and I want to teach you Python. So in the last video, we learned about variables and variable operations. And now let's put these variables to work. Let's use if statements. Now if statements are a basic way of checking if something is equal to something else or if something is greater than something else. And there's a very easy way to do this in Python. So let's get rid of all this and let's type if for if statement. Now, if statements are not what you would call a function. They're more of a statement, and you will see why later on. So now let's type in our condition. Now condition is the same thing we do in math class all the time. So let's see if A is smaller or bigger than B. So let's say if A is less than B, then we do a colon to say here's what it's going to do. And then we hit enter. Now note a very important thing is that Python doesn't run off of curly brackets, it runs off of indents. So in this case, Replit automatically created one indent for us right here. And now we can start typing. So print let's see, A is small. Okay, and see, it's giving us red lines here to show that we have it properly indented. So let's hit tab, and now it's properly indented. And now let's create another if statement. So if A is bigger than B, then we can print A is big. And let's run this and see what happens. So it says that A is small. And indeed, A is smaller than B. And let's say we make this like 20. And let's run it again. And indeed, A is bigger than B. But if two if statements are linked together, in that if one is not true, the other must be true, then we can actually use something called else if, where in Python it's called elif. So, since if A is less than B, then this statement happens, but if it's not, then it has to be greater than B. And we're neglecting the situation where they're both equal. That'll come later on. And so let's type elif for else if. And then if we run this, the functionality is still the same, except now we have explicitly told Python that if one doesn't happen, the other must happen, although it's still going to check whether the statement's true before executing. Now, if we know that if one's not true and the other must be, then we can actually even not check this and just type else and run it. So if it's not small, then it must be big. So if we set them even equal to each other, right? So if they're both equal, it's big. And as soon as we make A smaller, like 5, it flips over to the other condition. So in this, it doesn't actually check, but it just knows that if this is not true, then this must happen. Now, what if they're equal? Well, there is a way to say less than or equal to and less than or greater to in Python. And we do that simply by adding an equal sign after our inequality. So first comes the inequality, so less than or greater than, then the equal sign. And so if it's less than or equal to, then it'll print this statement. So let's set them equal to each other, like this. Let's run it. And there we go. It says A is small. Now, remember, if we take this out and leave it, it has to be less than, then watch what happens. If we run it, then look, it says A is big. And that's simply because this did not end up true, then it just went straight to the else statement. But now what if we want to check if they're equal to each other and not less than or equal to? Well, there's an easy way to do that in Python as well. If we do if A is equal to, and to ask if it is equal to, we set two equal signs. B, and then again we do the colon, and then print they are equal. And let's run this. And look, now it says that they're equal. And so there are a lot of things you can do with this. For example, if you wanted to use a Boolean So let's set up a boolean that says a. Let's use a different variable. A statement. And let's set it to true. And then let's get rid of all this code right here. And if we do if okay, so if we do something like this, we know that statement is equal to true, in which case this has to run. And then we can again copy this and create another statement where it's false and run it. So we have true, and we can set this to false, run it again, and that, oh, we forgot to change this statement. And we run it, and there we go, this works. But what if you wanted to include all cases where it is not true? And to get a better example for this, let's again switch back to our A's and B's. So let's get rid of this, and let's say if A is equal to 4, then print 4. And if not, print not. So how do we say to Python that if A is just not equal to 4, then go to this statement? Well, there's an easy way to do this. We just say A is not equal to, using an exclamation mark like that. So if A is not equal to 4, then just print not. So in which case, if right now A is 18, so it's going to print not. And as soon as I change this to 4, there we go. And that is the conclusion of our if statements introduction to Python. There are a lot more things you can do with if statements, but this is just a beginner series. Come back and watch later for the next part in the series, which is going to be while loops and for loops. Until next time, see ya.